What's the most satisfying tables-turned moment you've witnessed in court? I was a bailiff for 15 years and saw one that still gives me chills. This wealthy businessman sued his elderly neighbor for property damage after her oak tree fell during a storm, crushing his Mercedes. He walked in like he owned the courthouse. Tailored suit, gold watch flashing under the lights, flanked by 2 attorneys carrying matching leather briefcases. The kind of legal team you assemble when you're not just trying to win, but trying to bulldoze someone. Mrs. Peterson, the defendant, shuffled in alone, 76 years old, barely 5 feet tall, with thinning white hair and hands gnarled from arthritis. All she carried was a weathered manila folder and the wooden cane she needed to walk. Judge Reynolds called the court to order and the businessman's attorney launched into their presentation. Seemed airtight. Your Honor, our evidence clearly demonstrates Mrs. Peterson's negligence. The attorney began displaying photographs of the destroyed Mercedes. The damage was extensive. The massive oak had completely flattened the luxury car's roof. They called an arborist who testified the tree was obviously diseased and structurally compromised for years. He pointed to cross-sections showing internal decay. Any responsible property owner would have addressed this hazard long ago. The plaintiff's team presented maintenance estimates totaling $167,000. $94,000 for the total loss Mercedes, $43,000 for damage to a decorative stone wall, and $30,000 for emotional distress. When the businessman took the stand, he spoke with the confidence of someone unaccustomed to being questioned. I warned Mrs. Peterson about that hazardous tree at least 5 times, he testified. I even offered to split the cost of removal, but she refused. Now, she claims she can't afford to pay for her negligence, but that's not my problem. Throughout this entire presentation, Mrs. Peterson said nothing. She just sat quietly, occasionally taking careful notes with shaking hands. I remember thinking how hopeless her situation looked. No lawyer, no expert witnesses, just an elderly woman against a legal steamroller. When her turn came, she slowly rose to her feet, leaning on her cane. The businessman smirked as she shuffled toward the witness stand. The courtroom was silent. Everyone expected a rambling plea for mercy. But Mrs. Peterson surprised us all. Her voice was soft but clear as she asked if she could question the plaintiff directly. Judge Reynolds allowed it despite objections. I'll keep it brief, she promised. Just 3 simple questions. He leaned back, clearly amused. Go ahead. When exactly did you purchase that Mercedes? She asked. 3 weeks before the storm, he answered proudly. Custom ordered from Germany, she nodded. And what was its purchase value? $94,000, he stated confidently. As our evidence shows, one last question, she said steadily. What was your insurance deductible on that vehicle? The businessman's face fell. I don't recall exactly. Mrs. Peterson turned and made her way back to her table. She opened her folder and withdrew a document which she handed to the judge. This is a copy of Mr. Harrington's insurance claim filed the morning after the storm, she explained quietly. He listed the car's value at $38,000 and received full compensation minus his $500 deductible. The insurance company has confirmed this in writing. The silence in that courtroom was deafening. From her folder, she produced emails between the businessman and 3 removal companies, all dated the week before the storm. These weren't requests to remove her tree, but inquiries specifically about insurance coverage for storm damage. The businessman started the protest, but Mrs. Peterson had saved her most damning evidence for last. She presented security footage from the businessman's own camera, showing him dragging additional branches onto his already damaged Mercedes the morning after the storm. This footage is timestamped 6:23 a.m., approximately 4 hours after the tree fell, she explained. My grandson works in digital security and helped me request these records legally. Judge Reynolds reviewed everything in silence. The businessman and his attorneys whispered frantically among themselves. Finally, the judge looked up. Case dismissed, he announced firmly. Furthermore, I'm referring this matter to the district attorney for investigation of potential insurance fraud. As the businessman stormed out, Mrs. Peterson gathered her folder and cane. I helped her down the courthouse steps afterward, and she told me she'd lived next to that horrible man for 12 years. Sometimes, she said with a small smile, people think being old means being helpless. That's their mistake. I later heard the businessman faced insurance fraud charges and was ordered to pay Mrs. Peterson's legal costs. The elderly woman walked away with her dignity intact.